If you look at me from a distance, I'm what you consider the model minority. Intelligent, industrious, hardworking, and fully in charge of my life. In fact, I rarely ask for help because I'm competent in most things that I do, and I'm modest too. I act appropriately in all circumstances. If the occasion stands for laughter, I laugh appropriately, not too loud, not too soft. Or if the occasion stands for solemnness, say at a funeral or a staff meeting, I make sure my demeanor I make sure my demeanor matches the atmosphere where I'm at. I smile and nod and always try to agree. I try to never disagree. I strive to be that perfect model minority. That is because I'm the proud product of a tiger mom. For those who are unfamiliar with tiger parenting, think about being at the top of your game. Maybe you're the violinist at the Boston Symphony, or the valedictorian at your high school, or that heart surgeon pursuing their first open heart surgery, and your mother finds that one flaw she believes would make all the difference in the world. For the violinist, it's that one note. For the valedictorian, that A minus. For the heart surgeon, it's that one suture that could have been just perfect. And your mother points it out to you, even though you've outperformed more than 99% of the population, and she amplifies it to your aunties and uncles in the entire Asian American community. That's the epitome of a tiger mom. It's that soul-crushing experience that led me to perform that much more in my rigorous schedule of activities growing up. AP classes, honor roll, learning 4 instruments, violin, viola, guitar, and flute, being second chair in the California Youth Symphony, and running cross country and track and field. I had to be that perfect tiger cub. Shame and guilt ran me to perform that much more so that I wouldn't disappoint my mom and my family and the entire Asian American race. While this soul-crushing, nitpicking criticism of parenting may seem a little bit harsh, I knew that my parents loved me and were preparing me to be a functioning member of society, and that I would enjoy commercial success as well as financial stability. The flaw in this parenting style, however, is that even though I look perfect from afar, I'm highly self-critical, always correcting myself to look better from the outside. I'm judgmental, and that always runs my life. And admitting any sort of weakness, any flaw or mistake, disappoints my family. As you can imagine, growing up, being tiger parenting doesn't leave many room for mistakes. So throughout my life, I tried to limit my mistakes. Or if I made a small mistake, or I wrapped it in something worthwhile to pay attention to. For example, when I got divorced, I built a house. I sold a business and successfully transitioned to a legal career. The standard divorce wrapped in a cornucopia of accomplishments. This silenced the wagging tongues of my family and that inner critic of mine that was primarily the voice of my mother criticizing me that I was now flawed. That inner critic, however, couldn't be silenced when I made one of the largest mistakes of my life, one that couldn't be covered up or wrapped in a bow. I was in the midst of a remodeling project. I had just torn down my house and given half my money to my contractor with the expectation that the contractor was going to build my house. The contractor, however, had other plans and never showed up. I was stranded during the building process. Not only did I have to find money to pay for the funds that I had given the contractor, I had to find contractors to start and finish my house. And COVID had just begun. To give you how dire the situation was, I couldn't access my lines of credit because banks weren't lending money at the time. I couldn't get a real estate loan because I had just bulldozed my house and nothing stood in its place. I had limited funds to start and complete my house. To boot, I was living on a friend's couch. Waves of shame overcame me when I realized that I was making one of the largest mistakes of my life. I was ashamed that I had chosen this contractor to do my house. I was ashamed that I was giving my contractor all that money. I was ashamed that I didn't know if I was going to have enough money to complete the project. I was ashamed that I had no builders to work with at this time. I was ashamed that I was living on a friend's couch. For weeks, that inner critic and the shame of what I had done overwhelmed me, that I was lying flat on the couch. How can I be this perfect tiger parented cub and this perfect model minority, especially now? What do people think of me? For me to build my house and overcome what had happened, I had to overcome my parenting, tiger parenting. I had to overcome the fear of not knowing what to do. I had to overcome the fear of asking people for help. I had to overcome the image of being not perfect. While I was a victim of fraud, I didn't have to be the victim of the inner critic running me or these circumstances. My tiger mom demanded more from me. She demanded resourcefulness. She demanded that I find my inner resiliency and to find that inner strength of my tiger cub, even if I didn't have it. The voices of that inner critic and that inner resiliency wrestled, and eventually that inner resiliency won. In the end, it wasn't pretty or perfect. Through many tears and many calls, I found contractors and builders who were willing to work with me. They structured payment plans so that I could work with them and pay them appropriately. I worked with my banker to find pockets of money I didn't even know I had. And I sold a house, one of my only houses, to pay for the cost overruns that were associated with my project. I didn't hear from my tiger parents during this time because they were too shocked that I had done something like this. And after 2 years, in the fall of 2021, I finally moved into my house. The journey of this mistake taught me that I didn't have to be that model minority that people expected of me. My mom didn't expect it, my relatives didn't expect it. And if I could release the image of who I was supposed to be, how I was supposed to act, and the quest to be perfect, I could just be myself. Messy, not having all the answers, just me. And I could be free if I wanted to of the inner critic and the shame and guilt that I learned from my tiger parenting. And for me, that was perfect. Thank you.